Around here, there's a bunch of crooks around here.
You ain't supposed to be in that jail, boy. Get out of there, man.
No, that's a total no, man. VAT coming.
Is my salary going up?
Bahamian people gotta wake up.
This is my 5 cents and I approve this message.
Thousands left in the dark last night in an island-wide BEC blackout. The United States Embassy hits back at the labor minister's accusations, while the F&M chairman claims the minister is trying to distract from the issue. Plus, a behind-the-scenes look at the Shore program for at-risk teen boys, and local popular music group Visage has a brand new music video. We've got those stories and more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and MB12 starts right now. Topping news tonight, thousands of BEC customers were left without electricity last night during an island-wide blackout. Customers outside the Bahamas Electricity Corporation today were not pleased and voiced concerns that a similar incident could happen again this summer. Simone Davis reports.
Residents in all areas of New Providence experienced a power outage between 9 p.m. Thursday and 4:30 a.m. Friday. This as a result of a fault on one of BEC's power lines at its Soldier Road substation. Some BEC customers said they had to sleep outside of their homes because it was too hot.
I spent the night on the porch. It was very hot. Light never came back on and it's still ain't on as yet.
It was awful, because where I am, I'm way to the back near the beach, and mosquitoes was like, oh. We had to come out because the house was very hot, no light, not till after 2-3 o'clock in the morning.
BEC Chairman Leslie Miller said he and BEC board member Edward Darville were overseeing repairs between both the Blue power stations until 4 a.m.
We had a cable problem running from our substation on Soldier Road that feeds in directly to the Blue Hill station here. When that cable deflected, that then put an overload on the engines here at Blue Hills. All of the engines at Blue Hills then shut down. This is automatic safety valve that this allows you from having those engines running. Instead of burning those engines up, the engines cut off and say, listen, we have an overload, therefore they shut off. When that happened, it meant that the load here at Blue Hills had to be transferred to Clifton. The Clifton automatic system then told the engines, shut off, you're having an overload. That's the simple term I want to put it, simplistic term.
Miller said that by 11 o'clock this morning, electricity supply to 85% of the corporation's customers had been restored. When asked when residents should expect to have full power in all areas of New Providence, Miller said that he hopes to have everyone's power restored by tonight.
But listen, we want the power restored like now, but certainly before nightfall. So everybody's working as hard as they can to get these engines back on track to enable us not to go through what we went through last night, because honest to God, I wouldn't want no one to go through what we experienced last night.
Miller said that BEC will bring in foreign experts over the weekend to get to the bottom of Thursday night's island-wide blackout. He said although these incidents are unpredictable, the aim is to ensure that customers do not have these experiences during the summer. Reporting for NB12, I'm Simone Davis.
In other news, the top American diplomat in the Bahamas has emphatically denied Labor Minister Shane Gibson's suggestion that the Free National Movement had a hand in its 2014 Investment Climate Report, or that the son of former F&M Chairman John Lee Ferguson wrote it. U.S. Charged Affairs John Dinkelman says he does not know or care about Hank Ferguson's political affiliation, adding his only interest is in the quality of his work. Dinkelman also stressed that these documents are always written, reviewed, and approved by American diplomats in the Bahamas and Washington, D.C. Monique Toot reports.
In a candid interview with NB12, Chargé d'Affaires in the U.S. Embassy John Dinkelman says he categorically rejects any assertion that commercial specialist Hank Ferguson twisted a controversial U.S. report or that the Free National Movement was behind it. He also told us that he stands by the document, which he feels is an accurate and positive portrayal of the Bahamas.
The Bahamian opposition had nothing to do with this report. The Bahamian employees of the embassy did not write the report. American diplomats wrote the report for Americans to consider the Bahamian investment climate that they are considering.
Labor Minister Shane Gibson fueled the political firestorm surrounding the U.S. State Department's 2014 investment climate statement when he suggested that the F&M is behind the report. Gibson accused U.S. Embassy commercial specialist Hank Ferguson, who is the son of former F&M Chairman John Lee Ferguson, of writing the document, which raised concerns of the alleged lack of transparency and undue government interference in the bidding and procurement process. Dinkelman says he rejects that assertion.
I do not know his political leanings. I do not care, as a foreign diplomat, what his political leanings are. I am only concerned about the quality of his work, which has been superlative. Any aspersions that Mr. Ferguson may have twisted any report that the United States Embassy puts out in any sort of partisan manner, I reject entirely and categorically, for the products which come out of our embassy are unfettered by any domestic partisan disagreements or differences that may exist.
Dinkelman says Ferguson has single-handedly created many jobs in the Bahamas since joining the U.S. Embassy 2 years ago, stressing that his name was only listed as a point of contact for potential U.S. investors. The U.S. Chargé d'Affaires was also asked to respond to Prime Minister Perry Christie, who said information in the document was likely gleaned from opposition sources.
Undoubtedly, a series of American diplomats assigned to Nassau contributed from every conceivable source, from the private sector, the public sector, from non-governmental organizations, from international organizations, and as cited in various parts of the report, from international watchdog organizations which measure not just the Bahamas and the United States, but literally every country on earth, to provide, as I would stress, a snapshot of the way things sit in the Bahamas as of today.
Following the investment climate statement's June 26 release, Christie said he was puzzled by the lengthy report, which highlighted the Christie administration's failure to fulfill many of its ambitious campaign promises. However, Dinkelman says if one were to read the entire document, which has 19 sections, they would see it as an overall positive review of this country.
Anybody who is overly critical of the document simply has not read the entire document. The United States, through this report, is actually supporting and reaffirming a positive light of the investment climate in the Bahamas.
However, Dinkelman admits there was a factual problem that is currently being addressed. Prime Minister Christie pointed out this week that Standard & Poor's did not downgrade the Bahamas' credit rating in 2013 as suggested in the report, but rather revised its outlook to negative in September 2012.
When that was called to the embassy's attention, we immediately reported that to Washington, and I suspect that given the long holiday weekend, that the change to the website for this report will not be affected until early next week.
That being said, Dinkelman told us that while it has negative and positive aspects, the report would not dissuade American investors from doing business in the Bahamas. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Toot.
Well, F&M Chairman Darren Cash today also responding to the Labor Minister's accusations. Cash blasted Gibson's remarks as a crass and disgraceful attempt to distract from the fundamental issue that the Bahamas government has been found wanting.
They have been found wanting. In fact, they have been found to be a blatantly corrupt government, and that is the issue that ought to get the attention, not who was involved in the writing of the report, not who is the person who receives inquiries but the government that is the subject of the report. So Mr. Gibson's efforts are nothing more than a shameful, disgraceful effort to distract attention.
Yesterday, Minister of Labor and National Insurance Shane Gibson told NB12 he believed Hank Ferguson, son of former F&M Chairman John Lee Ferguson, was responsible for writing the State Department's report. The report in question raised concerns about the perceived lack of transparency and undue government interference in bidding and procurement processes. Cash said the government should focus on that issue rather than engage in political deflection. Cash said the average Bahamian should interpret the report as a clear expression of the USA's serious concerns about the perceived high levels of corruption in the Christie government. Cash also said Prime Minister Perry Christie's remark that he was puzzled by the report only demonstrates the Prime Minister simply does not get it.
Dazed and confused is the Prime Minister's response. As usual, he has no idea what's going on in his government. But I think that is willful ignorance on the Prime Minister's part. The Prime Minister knows of the issues that are at play. He has simply chosen to do nothing about it. And in choosing not to do anything about it.
And the Prime Minister wasn't the only person the F&M chairman took issue with. Cash said the report spoke to the Bahamas' fall in the ease of doing business, which is not only the Prime Minister's responsibility, but the Ministers of Trade and Investments as well. Cash said a Prime Minister worth his salt would demand the resignations of State Minister of Investments Kayla's Roll and Financial Services Minister Ryan Pinder, whose ministry is responsible for trade.
If your job is to promote trade and investment in this country, and if, as the report says, by their own admission, they have placed significant focus on promoting foreign direct investment, and if the report at its core speaks to the fact that foreign direct investors who have come in have been frustrated at the lack of transparency, at the sense that they're being shaken down by the government or government officials. If I am the minister responsible for trade or investment, I would submit my resignation to the Prime Minister because it would suggest that I have been a failure in my job after 2.5 or 2+ years.
Democratic National Alliance leader Granville McCartney is also weighing in on the report. McCartney called the report's finding another scathing indictment of the Christie administration's failure to properly manage the country's economy. He added that the concerns in the report come as no surprise, adding the U.S. government has rightly criticized the poor governance demonstrated by the Christie administration. He said it pointed to the government's failure to meet its own self-imposed deadlines on issues of national importance. McCartney insisted the report has the potential to damage the country's reputation. The DNA leader also expressed concerns about the message that is being sent to potential foreign investors and renewed his call for the government to enact the Freedom of Information Act. He said a viable Freedom of Information Act would correct years of deficiencies in government that have likely cost the country millions of dollars. He added the immediate implementation of this legislation would encourage new levels of government accountability and transparency and restore public trust in the electorate.